Welcome to Kathryn Raaker's World. Innovation, culture, adventure, fashion and health, artists, destinations, traditions. This is Kathryn Raaker's World.
Hi, this is Kathryn Raaker of Kathryn Raaker's World, and let's just talk. Our guest today, she's been on my show before with her first book, which I absolutely loved. Dream Me Home was the name of it, and it's Laurie Murphy. She's a full-time author of both nonfiction and fiction books. She previously worked as a registered nurse and a psychotherapist with degrees from Mount Sinai Hospital, School of Nursing, and St. Joseph College. Growing up, she was a ballet student at the Met in New York City and the Juilliard School of Music and Dance. She's currently resides in Florida, and she has 4 children and 6 grandchildren. And she has published many nonfiction books. And so this new book, she had me up all night with, and I had to read it. I had to read the end twice to get it. Dream Me Dead. Now we're going to talk about the character because there's a lot of people. We've got more stations now, Laurie.
Yes.
We're in Dallas, Texas, and lots of other places. So there's some people that have not read the first book. So we should tell them to read the first book because that's important, right?
Well, it is important, but I've taken into consideration that some people may not have read the first book. So I incorporated those characters and the storyline in the trial, which opens the second book, so that even if you haven't read the first book, you're not totally lost. But if you want more depth, you'd go back and read the first book. I have had some people review the book and said, I loved the second book so much that I'm going to now buy the first book because I don't want to miss anything. So that was good.
I got to read the first book, and I was totally amazed with the first book. So were there things you left out of the first book to reveal them in the second book?
Yeah, here's how the second book came about. So I've had many book clubs, and the 2 questions that always come up is, 2 of the characters, one was Arnie, the best friend of Dr. Prescott, who's the protagonist, Peggy Prescott's husband, who killed Arnie. And I was like, well, it doesn't really matter. It was an incidental thing, I thought. And also, was there or was there not a home invasion? And what happened? Who did it? And I'm thinking, well, that's not the crux of the story either. But since everybody loved tell me who did it. I want to know. So I thought, okay, well, so I wrote book 2, but I got carried away with book 2 and added a lot more interesting characters. And then I thought, okay, now that's that. Until the ending of book 2 came and people were arguing with each other. I think it went this way. I think it went that way. And I thought, okay, they're forcing me to do book 3, and I'm going to make sure there is no conversation about it. So that's what I'm doing now.
Right. So she, in the first book, Dream Me Home, she's not really in love with her husband anymore. Am I correct?
Well, yeah, Peggy Prescott in the first book, not giving anything away, because she opens the book saying she's dead. She's in a hearse and she's on her way to the morgue. And so she is narrating all of these books from the grave because she has a 360-degree view now of everything. She was in love with her husband, as many people are in love with their husbands until they live with them long enough to realize, maybe it wasn't exactly the way I thought. Because women want to romanticize everything. And men are sort of, I'm going to put my best foot forward. And then when I've got you, I get to go back to what I am, which is, in Rob's case, somebody who's self-serving and he makes all the decisions and she's just a dutiful little housewife. Well, she didn't like that too much. Mm-hmm. And that's where she starts to think about what have I done? But how am I going to get out of this? Divorce was not an option for her for many reasons. So she invents, or does she, another man?
But let me ask this question. Was he not loyal to her?
Well, in book one, he was, we think, loyal to her, although there was a best friend who Peggy Prescott knew for many years, that was a neighbor, and they confided in each other with everything. And suddenly Peggy doesn't want her around anymore. But we can't really, and Eric, her name is Erica, and we don't really understand that. And that's kind of a bit part in the first book. But in book two, we realize, at least in Peggy's mind, Erica was not an innocent party. Erica had her desires for Rob, the husband, because she had stepped up in every marriage she had to get where she was going. And where she was going was for the money.
For the money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so let's talk about the characters for a few minutes, if you don't
Okay,
mind.
sure.
So the narrator is
Peggy Prescott, still dead.
her
Still
husband.
dead. Pardon? The husband is
Her husband.
Rob Prescott, a plastic surgeon in
Right.
Key West, Florida.
And her best friend.
And her best friend, Erica Halverson, who has been married 3 times and is kind of looking at Rob as, maybe I can get him. She's very beautiful and very seductive, but incapable of actually having any depth of emotion. So she really doesn't love anyone, but she uses people.
How did you
yeah.
come up with, and how long did it take you to research or to create the characters in the first book and then the second book?
Okay, so as a therapist, I was a therapist for 38 years. And so I heard thousands and thousands and thousands of stories of my patients. And, I had them sort of all in reserve in my head. And what people go through is amazing to me. And all those stories blended into, I want to know more. But like if you hear something in the grocery store, you see somebody talking about somebody and you want to go, what do you mean? What happened to them? Who are they? Whatever came of it? Why would they do such a thing? We don't answer those questions unless we think about it. So I invent the answers. And that's what I do. And as a kid, I was shy. So I never asked anybody anything. I just invented the answers. And so I've done this my whole life.
Right. I think in sometimes our childhood, I tend to be a dramatic person. And I used to create plays and create all kinds of things because back then we didn't have the same things that kids have today.
Correct.
And
we had imagination back then.
They have imagination, right?
Yeah, they have devices. We had to, pretend things.
Pretend things, right? So, how did you handle a wide cast of characters and switching between their perspectives?
Do you know when you read a book and there's the main characters, maybe 1, 2, 3, and then a few secondary characters, and then some side people, and you get mixed up midway through, and you're like, who are these people again? They don't mean anything. I don't like that. And so I wanted every character, no matter even the janitor, everybody had a backstory, and everybody is an integral part of the story, to the point where you're suspecting maybe it's this one, maybe it's this one. Why would he ask that question? And so we know every person, even if they're not the protagonist, so well that we're always thinking, wait a minute. So that's how I did it. I don't like to have unfinished business.
So that's the reason why the third book's going to happen, right?
That's the only reason. I have other books in my head, but I have to do the third book because I have got to really make sure people are dead. People do not understand that when I'm telling them something, they don't want it to be that way. And so
they want it to be their end. They want the guy to go to prison, actually. That's what I wanted.
Yeah, everybody wanted something different. And the author always knows what the ending is. And I guess it's good that people are speaking about it and saying, well, hold on, it could be this way. And I'm complimented by that. But in book 3, which is going to be the final book, I am ending it completely. There will be no other discussion.
Let me ask you this question. When's that going to come out? Because like one of your fans, I need to know.
I'm writing it right now. I think it'll go quicker. The first one took me 3 years. The second one took me about a year and a half. I think I can probably have this in the next 6, 7 months because I know everybody. These are people that I feel like I've lived with for years, and I know exactly what they're going to do, what they're going to say, how they're going to act, and I already know the ending of this book. So it should go pretty quickly.
That's what I'm working on right now, our second book, and she's going to be in Turkey, and it's a series.
Uh-huh.
And so this would be this evolution of your book is like a 3-part series, wouldn't you say?
That's exactly what I had in mind when I wrote it. I was going to do, I was hoping for a limited series, and then I realized, oh, well, hold on, it's not going to be limited anymore. But I think it reads like a series because each chapter, I hope, I like a page turner book. I don't want a lot of fluff. And at the end of each chapter, it's like, wait a minute, let me go to the next chapter. And that's what you want in a series on TV. So, fingers crossed, we'll see.
Do you think it'll get on Netflix?
That's what I'd like it to be on Netflix. I would love it to be on Netflix.
But I'll tell you what, after reading the first one, I was like, and see, here's the other thing. They found her in the bed in the second book.
Yes.
Freezing. I mean, like ice. Am I correct?
In Key West, Florida, where the temperature is, 100 degrees. So, and he unsuspectingly is sleeping next to her, gets up, takes a shower, puts his scrubs on to go to the hospital, and then realizes his wife should be downstairs making him breakfast, as any dutiful wife would be. So he pulls the covers off, ready to reprimand her, and instead sees her beaten up, bruised, twisted up body, frozen in bed. And immediately you would think, as any loving husband would do, would run to her aid. But instead he's thinking, how am I going to get out of this? Because I don't want them to suspect me.
Right. And they did.
And they did.
Was he in jail all that time, or was he out on bail?
From between the second book and no, he was never out on bail. That was murder in a town like Key West, who never seen a murder. He was in jail with a bunch of people, seasoned convicts, who weren't buying his story at all. And he kept trying to sell his story to anybody. And they're like, listen, you shouldn't have killed your wife. Well, what can I tell you?
Right.
And, yeah.
That's the cool thing about it. So how did you balance between reality and the dream world in your book?
Okay, a little tidbit of information that is a secret, but now it's not. When I was a kid, I used to have vivid dreams. And I used to think, how does anybody know what's real life and what's dream life? Like, what if your dreams are real life and your real life is a dream? And that always was an interesting concept to me back then. And I just capitalized on it now. So was it really a dream? Was she actually dreaming? Was she, transported to a parallel universe? How did that happen? Do we believe it? If we believe in the supernatural, maybe. If we don't, it doesn't matter. Then we have a different answer for it.
Right. Well, I don't know if you dream in color like I do.
Sometimes, yeah.
And I remember, and I can go back into the dream. Can you do that?
No, I wish I could. In fact, the dream is so right there at my fingertips. And then as soon as I open my eyes, it starts to fade immediately. And I'm like, no, come back. But I can't. But that's okay, because I like to make up endings, even at movies. Nobody takes me to movies anymore because I always go, well, it was a good movie, but what do you think if we made the ending this way instead of that way? And they're like, oh, never call Laurie to go to the movies because she ruins it for you every single time. Just take the movie as it is. And I'm like, I can't. So, sometimes an imagination is a good thing, and sometimes it drives people crazy.
Right. And it drives me crazy sometimes when I can't remember it. And it was lately, my dreams have been so real that I feel like it can reach out and touch them.
Wow.
I have to wake myself up, in a sense, because sometimes they're scary, right?
Uh-huh.
And you
Uh-huh.
want to just get out of it, right?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So this is so exciting. I'll tell you, what experience do you have with court cases in the justice system? And since it plays such an important role in the plot, because there's a
Yeah.
lot about the court.
Yes, there is a lot. And as a therapist, I was often in court. When I say often, maybe 8 or 10 times on custody cases or, something that my patients did that made me have to go to court and be a witness or testify
Mhm.
for or against somebody. And it was very frightening, but I paid attention because I was such a nervous wreck to go that I saw the role of each person and how the judge behaved and the court reporter and so forth. And, plus I like to watch court TV on television and I can see how things go. So it just stuck in my head. I just have good recall. And it wasn't hard to write that. Each character, I become each character as I write them. And so I know what they're going to say and I know what they're going to do. And if I get, people say, oh, writer's block. I don't have writer's block unless I'm trying to make my character do something they don't want to do because they will say no. And then I have to go back and rethink it.
We have to take a short break, Laurie. So
Okay.
can you tell people and what your website is?
Yes. My website is contact Laurie Murphy uh, at what? At Wix, WIX.
Okay, we'll be right back on Kathryn Raaker's World, our syndicated TV show, and Let's Just Talk, our syndicated radio show with Laurie Murphy and her new book, Dream Me Dead. We'll be right back. We are back with Laurie Murphy, and we were talking about her second book, Dream Me Dead. The first book was called Dream Me Home, which I suggest that you try to find and go and get because I think they're exciting as well. So it's important to understand if you are wondering about the characters, were they who was the easiest and the hardest to write of each character?
I think, because of my 38 years as a therapist, I had a lot of men that came in. I like men. It doesn't sound like I like men necessarily in the book, but they would always come in and seemed like if they cheated on their wives, they seemed innocent until they realized they got caught, and then they're like, "Save me, help me, get my marriage back." They always seemed like there was a disconnect between what they did and what they thought. And so I took that as easy. I could almost get in the minds of some of my characters and go, yeah, they're saying this, but is that really how they feel? And they look innocent, but are they really innocent or are they guilty? So I guess I have to thank some of my male patients, not all. I mean, many of them were stand-up men, but some of them that really resonated with me. I thought, gee, I didn't realize you could live in your head one way and be another way out in the public.
So, unfortunately, your husband passed away years
Yes,
ago, right?
3 years
So,
ago.
yeah, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
does he come into play in any of the things that you're writing?
Well, yes. My first husband, who passed away, was a surgeon, so I got the medical aspect of all of that, like Rob. Uh, my second husband was a psychologist, and I worked with him in the same office as a therapist for 38 years. And I could see we had a lot of patients that came to us who had bad information, I'll say, and maybe some twisted views from other people they had seen over years.
Right.
And I realized that I had the power, and so did he, my husband. Not that we would, but you could really mess somebody up in their head if you took advantage of wanting to keep them coming as a patient for money or whatever. And so one of the people in my book, in my first and second book, Dr. Sherman, who is a psychiatrist, really, really did a number on Peggy Prescott to the point where she had no idea what was real, what wasn't real, who she was, who she could trust, or who she couldn't trust. Now, We were never like that. So if my husband was alive when I wrote the first book, um, he probably wouldn't have wanted me to write it, so, or print it. So it's no reflection on him. But I can tell you, you have to be very careful when you choose somebody to get into your head.
That's the truth. So, is the third book going to punish one of these people, hopefully?
Everyone's going to be punished.
Everyone, yes.
Everyone's going to be punished except Peggy because she's already dead.
Right.
But
And
everybody
hopefully
has to.
she's going to live in heaven with this person.
Well, we'll have to see.
I will have to see. So,
but don't forget, she don't forget in book 1 she narrates it from the dead. So in book 3, she's going to have to be dead. I mean, right? If I want to come full circle. So how does that happen?
right. So what is the main theme or message of the book?
I think it's be careful who you trust.
That's
Be
right.
careful who you marry. Don't jump to conclusions, and have hope.
That's right. Right.
And the thing of it is, you don't know when the crack in the marriage is going to happen. With Peggy
That's
in
right.
book 1, her husband just simply wanted to leave Boston and drag the family to Key West, Florida, because it was going to be a more luxurious place for what he thought were going to be, the rewards for his duties as a surgeon. But that began the crack of, I see that he's running my life. Yeah.
Right. So, what special research did you have to do for your book, or did you?
I didn't. I researched in my mind every story probably that I ever heard in 38 years of having patients.
Right. I'll tell you what, you mentioned that parts of the story are inspired by your career as a psychotherapist. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? And did you ever have somebody that was so wild that you weren't sure if you were going to be able to help him or not?
Yeah, well, that's true. I'll get back to that in a minute. But this book, I initially wanted to write a wonderful love story, because if you've ever been in love with someone, whether it's your husband or someone else, especially the one that you didn't marry, you always think, well, what would have happened to my life if I had married him? So I wanted it to be that, but it didn't end up being that because there were too many questions and too many villains and too many unfinished business loopholes that I had to patch up before I could get to any part of a love story, which is really toward the end of this book 1. And then I realized I was a much better mystery writer because there's so many questions. As far as patients that couldn't be helped, I couldn't help some of them, but I would refer them out and see if somebody else could. Do I think everybody can be helped? No. And I think people have an agenda. Sometimes people want to be a victim. Sometimes people truly want help and they do what you're asking them to do, and they are happy to go inside themselves. Sometimes going back is too scary, and I appreciate that. And sometimes people are just wrong. They're just broken.
Now, let me ask you this, since we now know that there's going to be a third book.
Uh-huh.
Is it going to be as long as the first 2?
Well, the second one was longer than the first. I think the first one was 304 pages. I think the second one was, I don't have it in front of me, 360
I can
or
help.
70.
I can tell
Okay,
you.
yeah, help me.
I'm going to help you,
don't have-
girl. And I'll tell you, I've read some of the chapters over and over and over again. And it is 350, 352.
Okay, so 352. I think the third book probably won't be, you know what? It's hard for me to tell because when I start writing, all of a sudden characters go, wait a minute, I have more to say, but I need to put these people to rest.
Right.
So that so whatever they have to
So
say,
what's
I'll put
going
on
to be
paper.
after this one? Is it going to be a news story out there?
Yes, a completely new story. I started writing it, and I started writing it a long time ago. I never forgot about it. My working title is Grace, but I don't know that that's going to end up being the title. But it's going to be a completely different story. The problem is I couldn't write it because this was unfinished business and my characters go, I have more to say. So I had to go back to book 3.
Right, right. Are you still doing therapy or
No, no,
you gave it up, right?
I
You
retired. Yeah, I retired.
Yeah, because this takes too much of your time, right?
It's always in my head. And the interesting thing is I write stuff and I think, oh, this is perfect. And I go to bed and I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, what was I thinking? That's no good. She wouldn't have said that. She wouldn't have done that. And then the next day I erase everything. I don't work
All
in an
over
outline.
again, right?
Yeah. And so my characters are like knocking on my head in the middle of the night going, seriously, this was wrong. Try again. And so there's been many edits to get it right.
Let me ask this question. How do your children and your grandchildren like your books?
I have 4 children. 2 have read my book. Of course, they rave about it, but I can't. I mean, they're my kids. They have to. The other 2 are not readers. I am sorry to say they've all been through college. They all had to read. I don't know what the problem is. And my grandchildren, out of 6 grandchildren, 2 have read the book and 2 really enjoyed it. But it's a little bit over their head, but nonetheless, they're teenagers. But yeah, I don't know. I came from a family of readers in my core life, and I always instilled on my kids, you have to read. If you don't read, you're nowhere in life. And they're like, we read in college. We don't want to do that anymore. I'm like, okay, come on. My whole life growing up was reading.
Well, the other thing is kids don't learn script anymore.
No, or how to tell time.
Yeah.
I gave my grandson a watch and he looked at it and I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, let me help you.
Well,
the big
digital watches make it, like whatever. And it's amazing. I happen to have a son that loves to write, so that makes it easy for me, So
yeah.
We have run out of time today on the show, and I'd love to have you back again because
I would love to come back.
I have to tell you, you're such an amazing person, and maybe I'll consult you for some of my psychotherapy things, research for our books.
Okay, well, sure, why not?
A lot of characters that are coming back again in this next book.
Okay. I've read your first book. Your first book was terrific, so I can't wait for the next book.
Thank you so much.
It's what's it called? Turkey?
No, we haven't come up with the title yet.
Oh, it's placed, but the
it's
site
Elizabeth. It'll be Elizabeth Bromwell, and in the book that you just read, there was a thing at the very end that said, when he asked her, or she asked him, he said something besides like pistachios, and he said, and where do you think that is? And she, and he said Turkey. So that's
so obviously that's where it's going to be placed.
And I've lived there for 4 years, so it's a lot of that stuff is going to come out.
See, that's why, because my book is in Key West, and I know Key West because I live in Florida. So if you can write about what you know, it makes it so much more real.
Right. So anyhow, well, listen, thank you so very much for joining me. The book sounds like I've already read it. I can't wait for the 3rd book. Now I have to wait 6 or 7 or 8.
Thank you so much, Kathryn.
You're welcome so much, because I think you're such a great writer, and you must have been an absolutely wonderful psychotherapist. So
thank you.
Let's give your website one more time.
Okay, it's at Laurie Murphy. No, at contactlaurimurphy.wix, W-I-X.
Thank you so much. And don't forget to go to our website at KathrynRaakersWorld.com, where you'll see her TV and radio show. And also, that's Kathryn Raaker's World, Let's Just Talk, and our cooking show, The Chef You and I. We'll see you soon. Bye.